1993's Jurassic Park is one of the most well-known and easiest examples of how codes and conventions are used in any film. Its classic story and tropes are easily deconstructed and explored in detail, with many different and concurrent ideas being explored through the story. A good demonstration of these ideas comes in the third scene of the film, where we're introduced to Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler working at a velociraptor dig site in the middle of Montana. Before we are even introduced to our characters, we see a group uncovering a dinosaur from the sand, and we're given establishing typography telling us where we are. The simple name Badlands helps express that we're out in a harsh, unforgiving place that only a dedicated person would dare visit. Next, we meet Alan Grant, serving as the main paleontologist protagonist of the film, a rugged, stereotypical rough, standing up from brushing the fossil. He's wearing a large cowboy hat, aviators, wearing a plaid shirt. The rugged, dusty look demonstrates to us his down-to-earth and grounded attitude. Similarly, his movements reflect his down and dirty personality. He handles himself as a rugged stiffness, his voice being low and gruff. His very first line in the film is, "I hate computers," signifying his dislike of technology and reinforcing his rugged archetype. This heavy-handed use of mise-en-scene elements, set design, and character dialogue all help define who Grant is. We see him interact with Ellie, giving us a glimpse at his softer side, as their pseudo-romantic relationship being portrayed through the acting. They stand close to one another and embrace each other as they walk down to the rest of the site, exploring his softer and public affectionate side in comparison to his rugged exterior, which helps enhance his passionate and excited traits. The combination of acting and costume set design helps give us an initial view of the character, a hearty, sun-baked, and earthly man with a passionate and dedicated side when it comes to both his work and his relationship. He fits a character type like Indiana Jones, a smart and dedicated who prefers to work in person, finding their respective treasures with their bare hands and skills. This similar characterization slots nicely into the film's overarching story and established our character to then give him his arc. After the computer successfully sends back information, we get another demonstration of Grant's passion and knowledge as he highlights and hypothesizes in real time, and also his dislike for tech as he complains about the glitchy screen. Then we gain another insight into his character as he delves into a public monologue to explain and inspire his crew. His placement in the center of the crowd demonstrates his importance and benefits the speech. This highlights his leadership skills, which stems from his confidence which is found in his character. Then finally, we are given the final, most important part of Alan's character, when a kid speaks up, calling the velociraptor a 6-foot turkey. The crowd parts, establishing a conflict between the two and framing the scene. Alan turns to the child, but rather than be mad or dismiss the child's comment. His actor stands for a moment, clearly thinking, before a smirk appears on his face. This display shows his more rugged and cutting side. His hand gestures are used to elevate what he says, such as placing his fingers on his temple or spinning his wrists as he explains, bringing more life to the scene. Alan's height over the kid and the use of low camera angles frames his as knowledgeable and strong, as he begins to bluntly describe the velociraptor's scary attributes. The hand gestures, the two actors' other motions such as the child following the fingers, and the camera angles like low shots and close shots with fast cuts help elevate what would otherwise be a relatively boring scene. Grant pulls out a raptor claw and then pretends to slash and scare the kid as he explains how raptors hunt, which demonstrates a variety of things. His love of the dinosaur can be seen with this, and then his use of it to scare the child by slashing it like a knife shows his blunt and direct nature in regard to kids. The choice to use the claw over a knife makes his speech make more sense, but also have a unique look and idea that fits his character and established traits up to this point, whilst also giving us the set trait that sets up for his arc. He doesn't like kids. To reinforce this trait, the next conversation between Alan and Ellie has Alan bluntly state the fact he doesn't like kids, asking Ellie if she wants one of those. This reaction helps spell out to the viewer Alan's dislike for kids. Even as he realized he had spooked the child, he simply disregards him. Through this single scene, we learn 4 things about Alan Grant. He is down to earth and prefers to be hand-on. He dislikes new technology because it replaces the need for hands-on digging. He is passionate about his craft and very knowledgeable on the topics he does like. He dislikes children. We're shown this through the beautiful acting of Sam Neill with his expressive face, hand gestures, and body movements. The camera angles, featuring many close and mid shots, helps give us a full view of the character, his dusty appearance, and the way he conducts himself. Panning and long shots are also used to establish the locale, which reinforces his character's first trait. The dialogue is heavy-handed, yet natural, giving us insights into his dislike for technology and his knowledge of velociraptors. And finally, the combination of all these codes helps enforce Alan's dislike of kids. It all follows story convention, establishing our character, a clear purpose for said character, and creates a memorable opening scene. It also gives us the concrete foundation for Alan's eventual arc. He has to survive in a remote, unforgiving terrain escaping from a new breakthrough in technology, using his knowledge of the creatures to survive, whilst overcoming his dislike of kids, as he also helps the two kids he was stuck with. Many of these ideals can resonate in society, and the societal context of the 90s in particular. The 90s saw new technology, like modern computing, which is slowly overtaking older, more hands-on jobs like paleontology, information keeping, etc. This fear of losing your job to technology was creeping into the white-collar sector, which scared many among America. The advent of cloning also brought up ethical concerns for many, and the idea of replicating another human or bringing things like dinosaurs back to life became a real debate among people in America. These beliefs are embodied in Alan Grant, who is a barely exaggerated example of the critical voices against technology, and, as we come to discover, cloning. He is a perfect microcosm of these ideas, wrapped up and presented in a pleasant and engaging way. The 90s were very big in terms of film and society. America had entered a new age of unchecked dominance. The USSR was no more, and capitalism had proven itself dominant over communism. A sense of triumph permeated through everyone, and new problems had only just begun to arise. The advent of cloning and its rapid improvements had sparked an ethical debate. Is it moral to clone animal? What about humans? Do we bring extinct creatures back to life or leave them to history? Two camps, the pro-cloning side and the anti-cloning side, had begun forming in societal beliefs. Michael Crichton, the original books writer and then co-writer of the film, used his narrative to express his opinion and allegiance to the anti-cloning ideals. His story brings a dead animal back to life, at first showing us the beauty and magic of the science of cloning. It's presented as fun, safe, and beautiful. The characters react positively, but then quickly bring up their concerns. How are they controlled? Do they deserve to be bought back? Can humans really control nature? These questions are an obvious reflection of Crichton's opinions, his concerns being expressed through the story. Characters like Ian Malcolm are almost stand-ins for Crichton, asking these questions he himself holds. Then, his entire plot hinges on showing the cloning go wrong. He now swaps the initial awe and wonder for fear and danger, giving a worst-case scenario for what the unchecked cloning could bring. The whole film serves as his hypothetical and argument, providing problems and giving insight as to the dangers. The horror elements give us this perfect framing, making people fear what could happen. The whole narrative is a reflection of Michael's beliefs about cloning. Audiences of 90s America took this film to heart. It challenged the very issues they were debating, providing a strong, clear stance on many topics. The act of going to cinemas to view films was the primary method of the 90s. This premium, fancy way to consume film elevated the status of the film, and the large screen, superior sound system, and specifically crafted room in the cinema made the film pop, sound amazing, and look amazing, which improved the enjoyment factor tenfold. This consumption would have made the message all the grander and stand out more. The 90s audience would have taken the anti-cloning message, the dangers and the ideas of nature finding a way to heart, as this was the main cultural issue facing the land of the free. The movie's ideas would have only stirred the debate, having people question the issues with reference to the murderous dinosaurs shown. Is cloning safe? How much do I know about cloning? And more would be racing through the audience's minds as they watched the action unfold, and likely lingered after the fact. Not only was this all here, but it was also presented in the newest and most popular form of storytelling in film, blockbusters. Big-budget action films was all anyone wanted in '90, and Jurassic Park was not only a major blockbuster film, but created by Steven Spielberg, who previously created Jaws, the film credited as the first blockbuster. The film was uniquely positioned and presented for the Americans of the 90s to address the issues they cared in a format they engage with positively. In contrast, the American audience of 2025 would engage with the film differently. Jurassic Park is a franchise spanning 7 films and a variety of shows and books. This already alters its context, turning it into the start of something bigger, rather than a big event in itself. Its primary mode of access is on streaming sites, which means it's primarily streamed on phones or home TVs. This alters the viewing experience. On phones, the small screen size and use of small speakers greatly diminishes the visual and audio of the film. Whilst headphones could alleviate the problem, it will still remain a lower quality compared to the cinema. Similarly, whilst TVs have grown to a much larger and higher quality, they still pale in comparison to a cinematic experience. These lower quality viewing settings, whilst more casual and personal, still lower the quality of the film and hinder the impact of the scenes. Americans with 2025 are much more focused on issues like LGBTQ rights, economic woes, and political events. Cloning in the Big 25 is not a hotly debated issue, thanks to Jurassic Park and other media items' influence in swaying the public toward being wary of the tech. Thus, the audience of 2025 will likely engage with the smaller themes of feminism and survival over the themes of nature versus man that Jurassic Park has. They're less likely to engage deeply with the film due to this, as there is less to engage with, and likely see it as the first step in a franchise. This contrast simply stems from the 30-year time difference. Society in America simply moved on, with newer topics becoming bigger issues to the people. The text was deliberately constructed to speak to the people of the 90s and their fears and feelings. It's written in a form they like, created in a form they like, engages with the popular genres they like horror and action, and addresses the questions that plagued them the most.